I love Mokujin, he's so sick. And speaking of Mokujin, it's been a while since I made a video about him. And by a while, I mean 8 months? Damn, Tekken 8 was so trash I became a Morrowind YouTuber. So to return to form and to spread the good word of wood, I made a tier list for Mokujin. Now some of you might be thinking, why does Mokujin need a tier list? He's just a mimic character, there's nothing special about him. He just copies other characters. If you had these thoughts, you are unenlightened. So let me edify you with these divine words. Mokujin has a static height. It does not matter who he copies, his reach will always remain the same. This has been the case since Tekken 3. Mokujin has had this property since the beginning. So what does this difference in reach exactly mean for Mokujin? Well, it depends entirely on who he copies. Some characters don't change much, some characters become absolute garbage, and some characters turn Mokujin into an absolute monster with some of the greatest evasion, the greatest wall carry, and some of the greatest pressure in Tekken history. So my tier list will categorize each character on how they affect Mokujin in an easy to understand format. I'm going to go into detail with 59 characters, so it's going to be a long one. Starting off the list with the best character in the game, the greatest of all time, the pinnacle of perfection, the apotheosis, Mokujin. He goes right here at the very top where he belongs, the King of Kings, the only honest character in this entire series. Alex and also Roger Jr. Mokujin has longer reach in general, having much longer arms, longer legs, and even the tail he grows when he's copying Alex or Roger also has longer reach, so all of Mokujin's punches are a step above. But let me tell you my favorite, down forward 2. With Alex and Roger, the range can be a little stubby, but with Mokujin, this becomes a god move. So what's so special about it? Well, it launches on counter hit. So the best way to describe this move is imagine Kazuya's down forward 2, except it has more range, it's linear, oh, and it's also safe on block. It's one of my favorite moves with Mokujin. Also, whenever I mention that Mokujin has longer or shorter reach with his arms, this also means he has longer or shorter grab range. So Mokujin's giant swing will reach much farther than the funny wave dash in Dinosaur or Kangaroo. So with that said, Alex and Roger Jr. go straight to S tier. It's nothing but positives. Alisa. Compared to her, Mokujin has much longer arms and upper body, but the leg length is very similar. Not much to say, it's just Alisa with longer jabs, down forward 1, down forward 2, and longer chainsaws. It's Alisa with longer chainsaws. It's Alisa with longer chainsaws. The walking, talking Onahole goes straight to S tier. Nothing but positives when copied. And when Mokujin copies a character, he copies all the properties of that character except for their reach. This includes a character's movement. For example, this down 3-2 string from Bryan is pretty hard to step. Most characters can't sidewalk it. And if Mokujin copies these characters, he can't sidewalk it either. But Alisa here has no problems dodging it. And when Mokujin copies Alisa, despite being larger than Alisa, he is just as evasive. It's very nice. So if a character has good movement, Mokujin will also have good movement. The first female Mishima angel. Mokujin is taller, has longer arms, and the leg length is similar. Now, the only problem I ever had with Moku Angel was that Mokujin was too tall to consistently land Heaven's Door after the forward 4-3-4 bound. Since Mokujin is taller than Angel, CD1's hitbox is also a little higher. This makes the window to land this move much tighter, and forward 4-3-4 recovers a little too slowly. So in order to land Heaven's Door, you gotta use weaker bounds that recover faster like forward 4. But this one negative doesn't really bother me because I always end my combos with down back 4-3 or hell sweep. And with that said, Angel goes straight to S tier. I mean, Mokujin has longer reaching twin pistons and electrics. Next is Anna, and look at this outfit. It is wild. Actually, let me look at it from P2 side. God damn. Anyways, Mokujin has longer arms, is taller, and has similar leg length. I don't play Moku Anna too differently, but there is this one small thing. In longer combos that go into Chaos Judgment 1 will land more consistently thanks to Mokujin's longer arms. It's not much, but that little bit of extra wall carry and damage is nice. Now, one major problem I have with Mokujin's height is the pickup after full crouch down forward 2. I usually use full crouch down forward 4, 1 as a pickup. Now, this lands consistently on characters of a certain size, but on some other characters it just whiffs because like with Angel, Mokujin is taller, so he kicks higher. Now this pickup will land consistently if it's done at a slight angle or at a very close range, but the pickup will whiff if it's done from too far away. A character's stance and how they fall is also a factor. Here Mokujin is copying Marduk, the combo now lands, whereas when Mokujin copies Jinpachi, it will whiff. It's very weird. And so I will have to put Anna at A tier. She's just barely S, but this slight inconsistency on a very important tool can be very annoying. And here's the most important information to know in the entire history of Tekken. Notice how at this distance Aphrodite Scorn whiffs, but when Mokujin does it, using the same distance and input, it lands. This shows that Mokujin is thicker than Anna. And there's even more. The bear's hip smash, at this distance it whiffs, but with Mokujin... Would you look at that? Proof that Mokujin has the fattest ass in Tekken. More evidence that not only Mokujin is best boy, but also best girl. How can any other character compete with such perfection? Compared to Armor King, Mokujin is shorter, has shorter arms, has shorter legs, is shorter in general. The shorter reach causes Mokujin to whiff on some combo paths. Like in this combo, the down 2 bound usually whiffs thanks to his short arms, so gotta use combos that have less knockback and keep the opponent close. But Mokujin's shorter height does have some benefit, like CD1 into down forward 1 will usually land. With Armor King, CD1 into down forward 1 only lands consistently on some characters. With Armor King's counter hit back 2-1-2, if you go for down 2, it will usually whiff. There is a trick to consistently land it, and that is to delay the timing. And Armor King does not have this problem, thanks to him having longer arms. Next is CD4 into down back 2-3. On some characters it whiffs, and on other characters it will sometimes land. It's very inconsistent. It is, however, more consistent and can be done on smaller sized characters, but it still whiffs sometimes on very rare situations. Here's something pretty sick. After using Tag Assault at the wall, using High Elbow Drop will cause the opponent to be knocked back away from the wall, allowing for an extended combo and a re-wall splat for some incredible damage. Now, Armor King can do this, but it requires a setup for it to land consistently. However, it's been 10 years since I did this, and I forgot how to do the setup. But as you can see here, Armor King managed to do it, but I was a bit late and I messed up the pickup. But Mokujin is the perfect size. He has no problem doing this. He has a much easier time landing it, and he lands it much more consistently. And if you're wondering, any character with a high elbow drop can do this. It's just out of all the characters, Mokujin is the most consistent and knocks the opponent back just right. Armor King goes right to B tier. Even though Mokujin has weaker neutral and whack combos, he's got some tech to make up for it, and Armor King's moveset works pretty well with Mokujin. Next is Asuka Paizuri. Oscar. Mokujin is taller, has longer arms and longer legs, and Asuka the Milkers goes straight to S tier. But yeah, there's not much to say. I don't play differently or do anything special. The longer reach is great for neutral, pokes, throwing out panic moves, and going Unga Bunga Gorilla mode. Nothing really funny. There is this one fact, don't ask how I know it. Female Mokujin is far bustier than Asuka. Also being the bustiest in the series, how can any woman compete? Next is Baek Do-san, and his height and reach is all very similar to Mokujin, so he's going to be the first character in no difference. Baek is a very sick character, and in my opinion, a much more fun to play than Hwoarang. Next is Bob. Mokujin has shorter arms, shorter legs, is shorter in general. He's got the speed, but he doesn't have the weight. The only major negative thing is that the bread and butter Bob combos I usually use, the last hit would whiff thanks to Mokujin having shorter limbs. So to remedy this, I just shorten all of his combos by just one hit. Mokujin is weaker in neutral, has weaker wall carry and weaker combos, but it's actually not that bad. I mean, Bob's moveset is really good. The average sized American goes to C tier, and also Slim Bob. Everything I said here in this segment also applies to him. Bruce. Compared to him, Mokujin has shorter reach, shorter arms, and shorter legs. There's just one thing to remember, and that's during long combos, the final hit will usually whiff with Mokujin. And to fix Mokujin's combo game is really easy. Right after the bound, just delay the next hit by a few frames. This small delay will close the distance between the opponent, making the final hit connect. Besides that small delay, Mokujin can do everything Bruce can, like crank out the insane damage he can do. Honestly, you can put Bruce in no difference, but I'll just put him in B tier. Next is Bryan Fury. Mokujin has shorter arms, is shorter, and has slightly shorter legs. Most of Mokujin's problems here come from his shorter arms. For instance, this is the usual combo I use when I do While Rising 2. It's simple and does decent damage, but when Mokujin does it, his arms are too short to land the jab, so I have to use an alternative combo. In some combos that put you off axis, there is a chance that Mokujin's punch will whiff, so to make things consistent, you have to do a slight angle adjustment, or a sidestep. And of course, Byron Furry doesn't have this problem because he has longer limbs. Also, unlike Bryan, Mokujin does not go yes when he gets kicked in the nuts, nor does he enjoy getting stepped on. Bryan goes to C tier. Mokujin has weaker neutral and combos and requires more execution just to do the things Bryan can. I'm going to do all the capos, there's 3 of them in this game. Mokujin is a little taller and has a little more reach than Christie, but is a little shorter and has a little less reach than Eddy and Tiger Jackson. It's kinda difficult to show off their difference in reach, because the capos just move around so much in neutral, so you'll just have to trust me on this. So all the capos go straight to no difference. I mean, Mokujin's reach is right between Christie and Eddy. Actually, a little closer to Christie, honestly. And for Tiger Jackson, I would honestly put him into triple S tier, because when Mokujin copies him, he can do his dance. I mean, goddamn, you seeing this? Look at him go! But yeah, nothing really special to remember with the capos, no difference. Next is Combot, introduced as Mokujin's replacement in Tekken 4, but not as fun, because Combot would mimic a random character at the beginning of a match, but unlike Mokujin, would stay as that character for the entire match. In Tekken Tag 2, the robot was turned into a build-your-own fighter, where you can mix and match different moves to make your own move list. Combot could be pretty busted, and was banned in ranked and also tournaments, and you can even give the robot lasers. Mokujin can't copy Combot, so right down here.
Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. You need to get with me, girl.
I am not into Neanderthals. Go back to your cage.
I always get what I want.
Oh my god, he's literally me. It's pretty obvious Mokujin is shorter in every way compared to Marduk. Marduk's combos are all trash. You can't end any combos with forward 1+2, it will always whiff, unless the combo is super short. And I'm talking Tekken 5 short. I keep combo simple and usually end with the 2+4 throw. Because it does alright damage, it's consistent, and it's also very sick. Now, I'm not going to go over every single combo path that Mokujin can't do, because if I did, this segment would be 5 or 10 minutes longer, and I'm going to be succinct in how much this character sucks. Like here, Mokujin's wall carry is much worse thanks to his stubby arms. Some combos require more execution, like either needing a micro dash or timing for some moves to land. An example here is that down back 1+2, after the launch I like to use up forward 3, but with Mokujin it whiffs, so in order for it to land you have to delay the timing. Marduk doesn't have this problem, because he has a massive hitbox. And of course, the combo can't even be done because of how short Mokujin is, and alternative combos usually do less damage. And for big damage, you have to do a tag assault, just to end up doing the same amount of damage that Marduk could do by himself. And if you want to do damage with just Mokujin, you have to hope that there's a wall close by. To summarize, no wall carry, worse damage, the combo game is just terrible. Mokujin's shorter size at least gives him some benefits. Some, like you can combo up forward 4 with the down forward 4, but only at close range, and Marduk is a little too tall to do this combo. Down forward 3 will pick up in situations where it would whiff with Marduk, and it's good to remember this because it's actually a very good combo tool for Mokujin. I use it quite a bit. At the wall, Mokujin can land forward 1+2 after a bound. The throw does decent damage, however, you give up wall pressure and now you have your back to the wall. Now here's something that's pretty sick. If you do a tag assault at the right angle at the wall, Mokujin's down 1+2 will duck under the opponent and launch them backwards, allowing for a re-wall splat and some incredible damage. And if you time a sidestep just right, you can also change the trajectory and hit a wall 90 degrees to your right or left. And of course Marduk is a little too tall to do this. Marduk goes straight to absolute garbage. The worst character in the game for Mokujin to copy. So much worse in the neutral, terrible wall carry, terrible combos, and this is just the abridged version. I can go on for much longer about how much this character sucks. A moveset made for a 7-foot tall man does not work with a manlet like Mokujin.
Don't bother getting up.
Next is Devil Jin, and Mokujin has shorter reach, and that's it. The only fun fact is that the special tag between Devil Jin and Jin, Mokujin cannot copy it, making it probably the only move in Tekken that Mokujin cannot copy. Which is weird because he can do this move in Tekken Tag 1 with Devil, and Mokujin can do the animation if you cancel the Great Combo. Anyways, Diablo Jim can be put into no difference, but I think I'll put him into B tier, because why not? Compared to Dr. Bosconovitch, Mokujin is significantly taller and has much longer arms and legs. Dr. Mokujin is a beast in the neutral. The increased range works really well with Dr. B's gimmicky moveset. There is one problem, and that's the combos, because of That. Yes, Mokujin is in fact too tall to do most of Dr. B's bread and butter combos. Bounds and pickups just go right over the opponent. Like here after forward forward 4, the 3 just doesn't pick up. A combo filler I like to use is down back 2 into forward 2-2. However, Mokujin cannot land this unless you use a fast, high launcher like down forward 2. And if you want to use a bound like forward 1+2 or down 2, it's best to do it after a jab or a move with quick recovery, or the bound will just go right over the opponent. So to summarize, Mokujin has much better pokes, but the combo game is very weird. Also, Dr. B has my favorite tag throw in the game. Dr. B goes right to B tier, some very good positives and some very bad negatives. Next is Feng Wei. Mokujin is slightly shorter, has slightly shorter arms and slightly shorter legs. And that's it. Feng is like Deviljin, where Mokujin is slightly shorter in every way, but it's not short enough to affect anything. Still plays the same. So Feng is B, I'll just put him into no difference. The laws are next. Mokujin is slightly taller than Marshall and Forrest, has slightly longer arms and slightly longer legs. And by longer, I just mean 1 centimeter. It's that insignificant. Martial law and Forrest law go to no difference. Nothing special to remember when copied. Ganryu is next. Mokujin has very similar leg length, but much shorter arms and upper body. Mokujin's combo game is actually not that bad. The only thing to remember is to do a small micro dash, especially if ending a combo with back 2-1-2, because if you're not close enough, it'll just go right between their legs. I have had back 4-1 whiff when the opponent was too far away during a combo, but that happens very rarely. Besides that, Mokujin can still do all of Ganryu's combos. The only actual bad thing is the neutral. Mokujin's arms feel very stubby. With that, I put Ganryu in C tier. Next is Heihachi, and Mokujin has shorter arms, shorter legs, and is shorter in general. The only thing the shorter reach affects is that after triple electrics, the down one will whiff. And of course Heihachi doesn't have this problem because he's got longer arms. But to remedy this is that in between the electrics, you just have to do one very small micro dash, and then Mokujin can do the combo. Besides that, Mokujin can still do all the combos Heihachi can. He just has slightly shorter reach in the neutral. So I'm going to put Heihachi in B tier, because honestly, he doesn't play any different. Next is Hwoarang, and Mokujin has very similar arm length and near identical leg length. Just like Baek, Hwoarang goes to no difference. Actually, I'll move him right over here. This next one's very exciting. It's one of my favorites. It's Jack, and you will never guess where I'm going to put him. Are you seeing this? Straight to absolute garbage, right off the bat. Everything I said about Marduk can also apply to Jack. The combos are ass, no wall carry, no damage, they need to be kept short. All the pokes are terrible, with down back 1 being the worst. It's borderline useless. Mokujin is shorter in every way, especially the arms, and the only benefit of him being short is at the wall. Here's the combo I usually do at the wall with Jack, and with Mokujin, he can land it on smaller characters. Here's one unique combo I use regularly with Mokujin. On normal-sized characters at the wall, this down back 1 string will land, but it doesn't land on smaller characters, and Jack can't land this on normal-sized characters because he's too tall. Also, since Mokujin is smaller, his hurt box is smaller, so he can sidestep things that Jack can't. And everything I said about Jack here also applies to Prototype Jack. Both of the Jacks go straight to absolute garbage. The second worst characters after Marduk for Mokujin to copy. Terrible combos, terrible pokes, and down back 1 having no range is really bad. Actually, all of Moku Jack's lows are terrible. This character sucks. Mokujin is the worst and most honest character in this entire series. The proof is right here. Buff Mokujin. Next is Jaycee, or Julia, and Michelle Chang. Mokujin is taller than Julia and Michelle, has longer arms, and has longer legs. The only problem with Mokujin being taller is in combos. Finishing a combo with a while running throw is a frame or so tighter after a bound due to Mokujin's throw hitbox being higher. Same goes for forward 1 pickup after a down forward 3. Besides a few moves being a little harder to land in combos, Mokujin is superior in every way. So Julia and Michelle go straight to S tier. And if you want my opinion on Julia and Michelle, just look up the term Oyakodon. Next is Jin, and like with the Deviljin, Mokujin is slightly shorter and has slightly less reach than Jin. And besides the special tag between Diablo Jimmy and Jimmy, Mokujin can do everything Jin can, including Omen stance. Jin can be put into no difference, but I'll just throw him into B tier with the other Mishimas. Jinpachi. Mokujin is shorter in every way. The shorter reach affects down forward 2 combos at long range. The follow-up 1 or some combos just whiff. Also, if you do down forward 2-1 at max range, down forward 3-1 will whiff. So down forward 2-1 is only consistent at point blank range. The shorter reach also affects Nyoisho, or I think people call it fly. Anyways, in longer combos never use fly 1-1-2. Mokujin's arms are too short. I usually use can-cans, but make sure to delay the can-cans because if you do it too early there's a chance the second hit will whiff. I don't think I have to explain this next part, but I will just in case. The reason why I mention Mokujin's height is because it affects combos and mainly wall combos, especially if a low wall splat is involved. If Mokujin is shorter, he has much more leeway to land a wall combo if the wall splat is far away. The same for the opposite, Mokujin has a harder time landing wall combos if he is taller. And of course this is a general rule, and there are exceptions, but if there's a height difference, this is usually the case. Now here's something pretty sick. With Jinpachi, up back 1-2 doesn't normally pick up. It does pick up on very specific combos on larger characters, but normally it doesn't. But with Mokujin, since he's shorter, he gets a guaranteed pickup, which is very good for combos. Up back 1-2 into can-cans is insane, not just for its wall carry, but Mokujin can also use it as a wall combo, and it does some crazy damage. And Jinpachi is too tall to do this wall combo. Also, this wall combo does not work on smaller characters. This string is insane and saves this character. It makes down forward 1+2, which is already one of the best moves in Tekken, so much scarier. Just one mistake and it's a very easy 100 damage combo. And this is without rage or tag assault. Where Jinpachi goes on the tier list depends entirely on what stage you're on. If the stage has walls, Jinpachi is in A tier because of the damage he cranks out. But if it's an infinite stage, he goes to D tier, right below C, because he has some really stubby range. Next is Jun Jun Kazama. Mokujin is taller, has longer arms and longer legs. And straight to S tier. Yeah, everything I said about Asuka the Milkers also applies to Jun. I don't play too differently and the longer reach is very nice. Next is Kazuya, and just like all the other Mishimas, Mokujin is a little shorter in every way. And you know what this means? This means that electrics are 1 centimeter shorter. Straight to absolute garbage, this character is unplayable. But seriously, Kazuya can be put into no difference, but I'll put Kazui into B tier. Next is King, and Mokujin has shorter arms, shorter legs, and is shorter in general. Besides Mokujin's jab feeling a little stubby, Moku King in the neutral is not that bad. The combos, however, are absolute ass. If you want to use down forward 2-1 after up forward 4, you have to delay it or it'll go right under the opponent. My advice is to never use back to 1+2, because it is very inconsistent, and this is just if you are perfectly in front of the opponent. If you are slightly off axis, it just whiffs, or becomes insanely inconsistent. I personally never use back to 1+2 in combos. And it's not just that, there are many bread and butter combos that Mokujin just can't do. But Mokujin being shorter, there is one useful piece of tech that I actually use pretty regularly in combos, and that's down back 2 is a very consistent bound. But I don't understand why Mokujin's combos are so bad with King in Tekken Tag 2. In Tekken 6, he's perfectly fine, as well as every other Tekken game. So in other Tekkens, King would go into C tier, maybe D, but in Tekken Tag 2, I'm going to have to put him in absolute garbage. I was originally going to put him into D tier, but then I remembered all the combos I dropped because I was slightly off axis or I tried to squeeze out a little bit of extra damage to win a round. So to summarize, Mokujin is slightly worse in the neutral, terrible combos. The bears are next. Mokujin has a much shorter upper body, shorter arms, and much longer legs. Never do bear gimmicks. Mokujin has no range. Only use 1+2 on the ground if the opponent is really close, and never use down 1+2. It only lands if the opponent loses their brain cells and starts dashing into you while you're on the ground. Hunting stance is borderline useless too. I recommend only going into hunting stance if you are close to the wall, or you have absolute confidence in yourself out in the open. 3+4 still has some very good range, and is very good at catching people that are off guard. Mokujin instead turns into a very poke-based character counter with his kicks. All of his kicks are very good, but my favorite is down forward 4. And here's an example why. Just look at this. Bam. Just look at that knockback. On block or hit, it's just a big neutral reset button. And if the opponent even thinks of pressing or trying to take their turn, there's a very high chance they're gonna whiff because of both the knockback and Mokujin's very tight stance. My second favorite kick is Magic 4. It has very good range, is a very scary counter hits launcher, and also thanks to Mokujin's size, down back 1-2 is very consistent on any character. After a bear hell sweep, this is the combo I usually use. It's nice and simple. However, with Mokujin, the while standing 4 does not connect. The while standing 4 only connects if you're at a very specific angle from the right. And even so, the down forward 2-1 does not connect. This combo does, however, connect only on specific characters, like Jinpachi and Ling. Instead, normally what I usually do is just to time the down 1+2 for a grounded hit. It doesn't do the most damage, but it is safe and consistent. Mokujin's smaller size does give him more wall carry and makes some of his combos much easier to land. Like here, Panda, when she did Howling Bear, after a dash, it just went right over the opponent. And Mokujin can not only land this move after a dash, he also has 3 business days to finish the combo. Mokujin hitting lower gives him a lot of extra leeway to land back 2-1, 1+2 after a bound. This is the combo I usually use after launching with down forward 2-1. The trick here is to just delay the last hit, because if you don't, it just whiffs. Also, to reiterate some very important information, Mokujin has a bigger booty. Very important. There's lots more information I can go over, but I think I got the main points across. Plus, I don't want this segment to be too long, so the bears go into A tier. That's for Tekken Tag 2. In Tekken 6, they go into S tier because Mokujin in this game is a completely different beast. And speaking of Tekken 6, this game still looks so sick. I mean, just look at the footprints in the snow. Anyways, in Tekken 6, Mokujin has a much fatter hitbox, so while standing 4 after a hell sweep is pretty much guaranteed. Not only that, if you're close enough and you do a nearly frame perfect crouch cancel, you get a guaranteed combo off of a hell sweep. It's very nice. Anyways, bears are one of my favorite characters for Mokujin to copy, but for bear players, they might put Mokujin lower on the tier list, because he relies less on gimmicks and more on pokes, spacing, and fundamentals. So in other words, Mokujin requires at least a triple-digit IQ to play, and that might be a little too high of a bar for bear players. Kunimitsu is next, and Mokujin is taller and longer in every single way. Even his wooden kunai is much longer. So in other words, Mokujin has much longer and thicker wood than Kunimitsu. Mokujin has significantly more range and just outclasses Kunimitsu in pokes and neutral, and this reach also makes combos much easier to do. It doesn't matter if you're off axis or too far away, Mokujin will connect. There is one negative. After full crouch down forward 3, this is the combo I usually use with Kunimitsu, and Mokujin is a little too tall to land the down 2. It just whiffs. In exchange, Mokujin can just do a down jab and get a full combo. This, combined with while standing 3, gives Mokujin a very scary, full crouch, 50-50 mix-up that Mokujin can do on any character. Kunimitsu can only do this on some characters. Mokujin is also much harder to sidestep because his ass and his hitbox is much thicker than Kunimitsu's. And the only actual major negative is that wall combos on smaller characters need to be shortened by one hit or the final hit will whiff. Kunimitsu's moveset works very well with Mokujin, so well in fact that she goes straight to triple S tier. Kunimitsu is the best character in the game for Mokujin to copy. Far superior reach to the original, access to a very easy and evil 50-50, and far more consistent combos. There is one weird fact. With Armor King as an example here, CD1 into down forward 1 does not land on Mokujin, but when he copies Kunimitsu, it now connects. This also connects on Kunimitsu herself. So why does this happen? Well, in the early stages of the game, Kunimitsu had a weird hurt box where when she was just crouching, some mids would just not connect on her. So in October of 2012, Namco released a patch that fixed this, and they fixed this by making her hurt box larger. And now when Mokujin copies Kunimitsu, he also copies this expanded hurt box, and this makes some moves that would normally whiff on Mokujin connect during combos. Now this tech isn't useful because any combos I found that uses this special hitbox, or hurtbox, doesn't do any more damage than a normal combo. Also, this hurtbox doesn't affect Mokujin when it involves any wall combos. It only affects combos that involve anything around his waist, or hips. So in other words, this expanded hurtbox only affects the Moku cheeks and the Mokusi. Lars is next, and Lars has a very similar reach to Mokujin. So he goes into no difference. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I mean, who cares about Lars? The only people who like Lars are the people that did the Naruto run back in high school.
You play Lars? please stop. Change character. You must change character. Lars is trash.
The next two characters are Lee and Violet. Mokujin is taller than Lee and Violet, has slightly longer legs, and has longer arms. The longer arms is pretty nice, but Lee and Violet go into no difference. When Mokujin copies Lee, he doesn't really feel any different. Compared to Lei, Mokujin has very similar height and reach, so yeah, straight to no difference. And Lei is one of my favorite characters because I'm a big fan of Jackie Chan Kung Fu movies. And speaking of Jackie Chan, Jackie starred in a movie called Shaolin Wooden Men. And if you have at least one eyeball that works, you might have noticed the similarities between the Wooden Men and Mokujin. And that's because Mokujin is a reference to this movie. And not just his design, his intro in Tekken Tag 2 and also his special win pose is also a reference to this movie. Next is Leo. Mokujin is taller and has much more reach in general. So Leo goes into S tier. Yeah, I don't really play any differently, it's just Leo with much more reach, which is very nice. So in other words, it's Leo with longer wood. Next is Lili, and Mokujin is taller, has a longer upper body, has longer arms, and a very similar leg length. Like with Alisa, when Mokujin is copying Lili, he is just as evasive, has the same sidestep and backdash as Lili. So Lili goes to S tier. Mokujin's kicks might not be longer than Lili's, but the longer jabs, down forward 1 and down forward 2, is very noticeable. Now Lili mains might put Mokujin lower on the tier list, because Mokujin doesn't have any toes for you to ogle. A public service announcement, remember to wear closed shoes around Lili mains, it's for your own personal safety. Next is Xiaoyu and Miharu. Compared to these two, Mokujin is significantly taller and has much longer arms and much longer legs. Just like with Kunimitsu, Mokujin is far superior to Xiaoyu and Miharu when it comes to neutral and pokes, and this longer reach also affects combos, making them significantly easier to land. Not having to worry about timing or being off axis, Mokujin just connects. He's a very stress-free character. The only negative is at the wall. Forward 1+2 1+2 will whiff on smaller characters, but this can be remedied by just doing a small sidestep, so it's not that big of a deal. At the wall, this is the combo I usually use with Miharu and Xiaoyu, but Mokujin is too tall to land the jab, so his wall combo does a little bit less damage. And that's really the only big negative. And if you're wondering, yes, Mokujin can still do all the absolute messed up tech traps Xiaoyu can do. Let's talk about Arts of Phoenix. It's a very good stance and it's very evasive. It's even more evasive if you use Butterfly. And when Mokujin uses AOP, you'd think that he'd be less evasive since he's so much larger than Xiaoyu or Miharu. It would be pretty crazy if Mokujin was just as evasive as Xiaoyu, because that would be absolutely ridiculous. The situations where a low mid would hit on Mokujin but would whiff on Xiaoyu are very rare. The situations where it would connect require a specific angle, position, and range that you are not realistically going to get in a match. So this is not an exaggeration, this is the rule. If Xiaoyu and Miharu can dodge it, Mokujin will as well. And with this, straight to triple S tier, the second best characters in the game for Mokujin to copy. Vastly superior reach and just as evasive. And you know what? Miharu is cuter, not as much as Mokujin, so I'm going to put her above Xiaoyu in the tier list. Mokujin is the most broken and most dishonest character in Tekken. The proof is right here. Nerf Mokujin. My wood is too hard, too long, and too strong. It's just unfair for everyone else. Next is Miguel, and Mokujin is much shorter, has much shorter arms, and much shorter legs. Mokujin is much worse than Miguel in the neutral. His pokes feel very stubby, and his shorter range also affects combos. Like with Bob, in longer combos, the final hit will whiff, so I also use the same solution. So I shorten most of Mokujin's combos by just one hit. Mokujin's shorter height gives him some advantage at the wall. After a wall splat, down forward 2-2 will consistently connect on any character. It's a bound I like to use at the wall. And also at the wall, forward 2-1 will connect on any character. It doesn't do as much damage as other wall combos, but the option is there. And now for the worst one. Just listen. Can you hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of nothing. Mokujin doesn't have vocal cords. He can't go woohoo. This character is ruined. Miguel goes to D tier. Mokujin is much worse in the neutral, worse combos, worse wall carry, is alright at the wall, and no woohoo. Nina is next. Mokujin is taller, has longer arms, and a very similar leg length. Like with Anna, I don't play Nina too differently, but there is one thing to know. Here's a side-by-side comparison. Let's play a game of Spot the Difference. And it was pretty easy. Mokujin dropped the combo. But why? So let's go back and look at it frame by frame. And as you can see right here, even though the timing was the same right down to the frame, Mokujin didn't connect. And that's because he's taller. And since he's taller, the while standing 1 hitbox is higher than Nina's. So Mokujin's butterfly loop combos are 1 frame tighter. And so because of this, I have to put Nina into A tier, right next to Anna. Mokujin having a longer jab and down forward 1 is very nice with Nina's game plan. But to me, butterfly combos are very important. With Nina, I can do them in my sleep. But with Mokujin, they're very hard to do. Now, 1 frame might not sound like much, but trust me, just 1 frame can make a world of difference. Next is Ogre, and Mokujin is much shorter, has much shorter arms, and has much shorter legs. Most of the combos I do with Ogre, Mokujin can actually do them, but he can be very inconsistent sometimes. But with this combo here, a small micro dash before 3-2 will make the combo consistent. But with other combos, you just have to pray that Mokujin is not off axis or too far away from the opponent. Or you can just use shorter combos that are more consistent but does less damage. Ogre also has Marduk's down 1+2, so tag assault at the wall at the right angle, and you can launch the opponent backwards. Ogre goes to D tier. Mokujin just feels very stubby compared to Big Green. Next is Paul, and Mokujin is shorter in every way. The only problem I've ever had is that in combos, if you land a launcher at long range, the bound will whiff, like here after up forward 3-4. So you have to be very mindful of distance and spacing, but besides that, I've never had any problems with Paul. Mokujin's shorter height gives him a benefit at the wall. Down forward 1-1-2 lands consistently on any character at the wall. It's a very good wall ender that does decent damage. So Paul goes to C tier. With Mokujin, you have to be more mindful of your distance from the opponent if you launch them, and he has shorter range, most noticeably a shorter death fist. Next is Raven, and Mokujin has very similar arm length, has slightly shorter leg length, and is shorter than Raven. Raven goes into no difference, and I wonder if Mokujin copies him, can he also call himself the N-word? A ninja? Oh yeah, I forgot about Sebastian. Everything I said about Lili also applies to him, so he goes to S tier. Next is one of my favorites, Dragunov. Mokujin in comparison is shorter in every way. Mokujin has a lot of positives, so I'm just going to go over what I think are the most practical ones. Down back 3 on clean normal hit can be picked up with while standing 4 for a full combo. Now while standing 4 can be consistent, but on some characters it's a little finicky. Counter hit while running 2 can be followed up with another while running 2. If you have decent execution, it's very consistent with Mokujin and is actually kinda easy to do. Now Dragunov can actually do this, it's just that it's very inconsistent for him and you have to be at point blank range. Counter hit while running 2 at the wall, you can easily land 1-3-2 for a bound. Now this only works on normal sized characters, on smaller characters it will whiff. When Dragunov goes into his sneak stance after forward 3, he can cancel it into a jab or 4-1 for a bit of extra wall carry, but if he tries to do forward 3 sneak cancel forward 3, he can't do it. He's a little too tall. But Mokujin... Man, that's so sick. So Mokujin can do forward 3 loops, and let me tell you, this is very difficult to do, but if you have the execution to do this consistently, you have access to some of the best wall carry in the game. And forward 3 loops also increases the overall damage Mokujin does in his combos. Very amazing tools. Mokujin can crank out some insane damage, and so it should be pretty obvious Dragunov goes into triple S tier, but he's in C tier if you don't have execution. You need to be able to do forward 3 loops and consistently do instant while running. And I'm talking about instant while running in older Tekken games, and not the easy mode version in Tekken 8. So yeah, Dragunov is in triple S tier. Even though Mokujin has shorter reach, his while running 2 is much scarier and one of the best pressure tools in the game. He is the best wall carry in the game and does so much more damage. The only downside is reach and execution. Next is Steve, and Mokujin is shorter and has much shorter arms. The only major benefit of Mokujin being shorter is that after counter hit back 1, he has a lot more leeway to land the blue spark duck 1. He doesn't even need to go into flicker stance and he can do a very deep dash. That's how much leeway he has. Mokujin's shorter reach also makes his combos very bad. And by bad, I mean Mokujin cannot do duck cancel wildman combos. His arms are just too short, so he has to do alternative combos that are weaker and have less wall carry. So Steve Fox goes into C tier. Mokujin has worse wall carry, worse combos, and worse reach. He's kinda bad. I mean, Mokujin has shorter arms. It's a boxer with shorter arms. Oh boy, it's True Ogre. Now notice here when True Ogre uses his right arm, his snakes extend. That's a pretty important part of his gameplay. But could you imagine if his right arm didn't extend? It would pretty much render 99% of the moves that use his right arm useless. That would be really, really bad. Well, it's pretty obvious, Mokujin is much shorter than True Ogre and has much shorter arms. This affects combos from a waning moon, one of True Ogre's best tools. Mokujin's arms are too short, so he has to shorten the combo by one hit. However, he can do the full combo on Mokujin when he's copying Kunimitsu because of the expanded Hertz box. And also when Mokujin copies Raven and Raven himself. Yeah, Raven has a weird Hertz box. He has a fat ass. Now check this out. Mokujin is doing some sick front flips, but he's not supposed to be doing this. He's supposed to be doing this. Yeah, it's an attack. Mokujin's hitbox on his tail is messed up. Now he can connect on normal sized characters, but smaller characters and characters in a specific stance, his tail will just clip right through them if done at close range. One of True Ogre's combo tools I like to use, and Mokujin can't use it, and that's Fly 2. Now the best thing about this move is that it does an insane amount of damage, but Mokujin's arms are too short, so his combo game is much weaker. Luckily, Mokujin has some benefits, and the big one is that Mokujin has longer legs than True Ogre. This makes Up Back 3 and Samsara much better panic moves, and this next tech works very well with Samsara. If True Ogre is too close to an opponent after a bound, half circle forward 2 will whiff, but since Mokujin is shorter, it lands. This string does decent damage and is very good if you're close to the wall. And of course, since Mokujin is smaller than True Ogre, he is also much more evasive with his sidesteps. So on the tier list, it should be pretty obvious where I'm going to be putting True Ogre. That's right, he goes into D tier. Yeah, isn't that surprising? The only thing keeping Mokujin's True Ogre out of absolute garbage is that he can still do decent damage, his evasiveness, and his longer legs. I have used Up Back 3 and Samsara in many robberies, and you know what? I'm in a good mood, so I'll share with you some secret tech. If you use Fly 3+4, on characters of about Anna's size or shorter, Mokujin will just fly right over the opponent, reenacting that scene from Toy Story. This catches people off guard and is a surprising way to get away from the wall. And of course, Ogre is too fat to do this. And there's something a little more vile you could do with this Fly 3+4. Notice here I have Kazuya set to block all on the first and second hit, but look at what I do here. The move hits. Yes, you're looking at an unblockable cross-up that is happening because of Mokujin's hitbox. While Mokujin is bobbing in the air, if you time Fly 3+4 just right, it hits at a weird angle and it turns into an unblockable. This works on any character of Kazuya's size or shorter, and if a character has a different height, you have to use a different timing. And I am sharing this tech with you because it's one of Mokujin's weakest traps. Mokujin has a couple dozen more spread across different characters that are far scarier than this, and I'm talking unblockables, cross-ups, tech traps, touch of deaths, and infinites that only Mokujin can do. Am I going to share any of this tech? No. I'll gladly share basic elementary information about Mokujin like I'm doing here in this video and in my other videos, but the real nasty stuff I'm keeping for myself. Because if by some miracle Mokujin ever comes back, I will start seriously competing in Tekken again. And I'm a cheap bastard and I'll try to keep as many advantages for myself as possible, plus I don't want Namco knowing about it and patching it. So if Mokujin ever comes back to a modern Tekken, I will share the crazy things he can do, but it looks like that's not happening, so I've been keeping this tech a secret for 10 years. It's gonna stay a secret for the foreseeable future. Next is Unknown, originally a mimic character just like Mokujin in Tekken Tag 1, except she had a very cool gimmick, where if you pressed R3 she would copy a different character in the middle of a match. But in Tekken Tag 2 she was just Jun that could summon giant hands. The best thing about her is that I could make the joke, MILF turns into Mokujin, thanks to her tag throw. But anyways, Mokujin can't copy her, so right next to Combot. Next is Wang Jinrei. Mokujin is taller, has very similar arm length, and has longer legs. Now my Wood and my Wang don't really play any differently, but since Mokujin is taller, he does have more reach, like in his Death Fist, because he leans forward into it. But yeah, Wang goes straight to S tier. Mokujin is just Wang with longer reach. So in other words, my Wood is longer than your Wang. Next is Yoshimitsu, and in comparison, Mokujin has very similar height, very similar arm length, and very similar leg length. So yeah, there's really no difference between Yoshimitsu and Mokujin. Wait, did you see that? Oh my god, Mokujin stabbed himself just so he can peek up Lili's skirt. God damn, he's literally me. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, no difference. The final character is Zafina. Mokujin is taller, has longer arms, and very similar leg length. The major negative that Mokujin has is at the wall. His wall combos are very lacking compared to Zafina. The usual wall combos I do with Zafina, Mokujin just can't do because the final hit will whiff. So I normally just shorten his wall combos by just one hit. But besides that, Mokujin is superior to Zafina in every way, like pokes, neutral, and easier combos. And also just like with Xiaoyu's Art of Phoenix, Zafina's stances with Mokujin are just as evasive. But Mokujin's hitbox and hurtbox are very weird, so side switching can be a very common occurrence. So Zafina goes into A tier. She's almost S, but Mokujin's wall combos are a little lackluster. Well, that took a while, but my tier list for Mokujin is finally done. So a quick recap, for the characters in triple S tier, when Mokujin copies them, it's either he's vastly superior or he gets some crazy new tools, or both. And for the characters in S tier, when Mokujin copies them, he has superior reach and little or no negatives. So in other words, it's just a straight upgrade with no downsides. For the characters in A tier, they are almost S, but there's one annoying flaw just holding them back. With the bears, I just really like how Mokujin plays when he copies them. And with Jinpachi, as I said, it just depends on what stage you're playing on. For the characters in B tier, honestly, with the exception of Armor King and Dr. B, you could just put him into no difference. Yeah, the difference in reach, honestly, is so minuscule that it doesn't matter, or there's just one thing to remember. For the characters in C tier, when copied, Mokujin has shorter reach, and there's a few negatives to remember. And Diddy tier is just like C, but worse. And absolute garbage is pretty self-explanatory. And no difference doesn't actually mean no difference. This tier means it doesn't feel different. So there's a few characters in here that have a difference in reach, either a little shorter or a little longer, but when Mokujin copies them, he doesn't feel different. And I don't think I have to explain can't copy, or I hope I don't have to. So I hope you've enjoyed this 45 minutes long video of non-stop Mokujin information, the greatest character of all time, and more videos to come. And a very special thanks to my supporters. Thank you for giving me $1 to make this world a worse place. You are all wonderful people, and remember, love Mokujin, and thanks for watching.